The ballroom went silent the second she stepped through the doors. Crystal lights shimmered off marble floors. Music faded into an awkward whisper. The millionaire froze mid-laugh, a glass of champagne trembling in his hand. His glamorous mistress clung to his arm, confused. Across the room, the woman he had tried so hard to hide stood there in a simple dress, and every important guest rushed toward her like she was the guest of honor. He felt his heart drop into his stomach. Before we unravel how one night turned his world upside down, take a moment to subscribe to Kindness Tellies, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. We tell stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, and you never know which one might touch your heart today. Khalid Rahman had built his life on appearances. In downtown Houston, his name meant money, influence, and luxury. He owned oil investments, tech startups, and half the real estate along the river. His suits were custom-made in Italy. His cars changed every season. His social media looked like a catalog of yachts and private jets. People admired him, envied him, feared him a little. But very few people knew about the small apartment on the quiet side of town where his wife still lived. Her name was Amina. She had come to America with him 15 years earlier, when they had nothing but 2 suitcases and a borrowed dream. Back then, Khalid drove for a delivery company, working double shifts. Amina cleaned houses during the day and studied English at night. She packed his lunches, ironed his only shirt, and whispered prayers over him before he left each morning. When his first business deal failed, she sold her gold wedding bracelets so he could try again. When he felt like quitting, she sat beside him on their worn-out couch and told him, "We didn't come this far to give up." Slowly, painfully, things changed. One good investment led to another. Money came. Then more money. Then connections. Suddenly, Khalid wasn't just surviving. He was rising. And somewhere along the way, he began to feel embarrassed. Amina never changed. She still wore simple clothes. Still spoke softly. Still preferred cooking at home instead of dining at 5-star restaurants. She volunteered at community centers and spent weekends helping refugees fill out paperwork. At first, he found it sweet. Then he found it inconvenient. When business partners invited him to elite events, he worried she wouldn't fit in. Her accent was too thick. Her dresses too modest. Her kindness too plain for rooms filled with diamonds and ego. So he started going alone. Then he started lying. "I'll be late tonight. Just meetings. Corporate dinner. You'd be bored." Eventually, he stopped asking her to come at all. That's when he met Layla. Layla was everything that looked good in photos. Stylish. Loud. Confident. She knew how to laugh at the right time and flatter the right people. She loved expensive gifts and never asked questions. With her, Khalid felt impressive. She fit the image. Soon, she was on his arm at every party, every gala, every business launch. People assumed she was his wife. He never corrected them. Back home, Amina simply smiled when he returned late. She reheated his food. Asked if he was tired. Told him she had packed leftovers for tomorrow. Her quiet patience irritated him more than anger ever could. Then came the charity gala. It was the biggest event of the year, hosted by the city's most powerful families. Politicians, CEOs, celebrities. Cameras everywhere. Khalid saw it as a chance to secure a major deal with an American investor. He rented out an entire designer boutique for Layla. Bought her a shimmering silver gown that cost more than his first car. "You'll be the most beautiful woman there," he told her proudly. He didn't even mention the event to Amina. That evening, the ballroom sparkled like a movie set. Chandeliers glowed like stars. Waiters floated by with trays of gold-rimmed glasses. A jazz band played softly. Khalid walked in with Layla, feeling unstoppable. People greeted him, shaking his hand, praising his latest project. Layla laughed loudly at every joke, clinging to him like a trophy. For a moment, he believed he had finally become the man he always wanted to be. Then the doors opened. At first, he barely looked. Just another guest. But then the whispers started. "Oh my God, she's here. Is that her? I didn't know she was coming." Important people, people who had ignored him minutes ago, suddenly moved past him. Toward the entrance. Curious, Khalid turned. And there she was. Amina. Wearing a simple pale blue dress he'd never seen before. No heavy makeup. No diamonds. Just a small silver necklace he had given her years ago. She looked calm. Almost shy. But something strange was happening. The mayor rushed forward and hugged her warmly. A famous doctor shook her hand with both of his. A group of volunteers surrounded her, thanking her. Khalid's chest tightened. Layla whispered, confused, "Who is she?" Before he could answer, the host stepped onto the stage and tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, before dinner begins, we want to honor someone very special tonight. The founder of the New Beginnings Foundation, the woman who has quietly helped over 3,000 refugee families find housing, jobs, and education in our city." Khalid's ears rang. The host smiled toward Amina. "Please welcome our guest of honor, Amina Rahman." Applause exploded through the hall. Not polite clapping. Real applause. Loud. Emotional. People stood. Khalid felt like the floor had disappeared. The foundation? He had heard of it. Every major company donated to it. It had government partnerships. Even his competitors spoke highly of it. He had never once bothered to learn who ran it. On stage, Amina spoke softly into the microphone. She thanked volunteers. Told stories about families who finally felt safe. She said kindness was the only wealth that truly multiplied when shared. Her voice shook, but her eyes were bright. No designer gown. No performance. Just sincerity. And people were crying. Khalid looked around and realized something painful. This room respected her. Not because of money. Because of heart. Layla tugged his arm. "This is awkward. Let's go somewhere else." But he couldn't move. Memories flooded him. The small apartment. The gold bracelets she sold. The lunches she packed. The nights she waited up for him. All the times he chose image over the woman who built his life beside him. After the speech, guests lined up to talk to her. Investors offered donations. Reporters asked for interviews. No one looked at Khalid anymore. For the first time in years, he felt small. Layla eventually slipped away, bored and annoyed. He didn't even notice. He walked slowly toward Amina. She saw him and smiled gently, like she always did. No anger. No accusation. Just warmth. "I didn't know you were coming," he said, his voice barely steady. She shrugged lightly. "They invited me months ago. I didn't want to bother you. You're always busy." That simple sentence hurt more than any insult. He noticed her shoes were old. Slightly worn. While he had been buying watches worth thousands, she had been spending everything on strangers. "I'm sorry," he whispered, the words feeling foreign. "For what?" she asked. "For forgetting who stood next to me when I had nothing." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said softly, "Money changes what we have. It shouldn't change who we are." That night, Khalid drove home alone. No music. No phone calls. Just silence and the weight of his thoughts. The next morning, he did something he hadn't done in years. He made breakfast. Burned the eggs a little. Set the table anyway. When Amina walked in, surprised, he told her he wanted to visit the foundation with her. Not as a donor. As a volunteer. The first day, he carried boxes. Filled out forms. Listened to stories of families who had lost everything. For the first time, his wealth felt useful. Not flashy. Useful. Weeks passed. Then months. He started funding scholarships anonymously. Paid medical bills quietly. Used his connections to create jobs for people who needed second chances. No cameras. No parties. Just work. And slowly, something inside him softened. People still called him a millionaire. But now, when they spoke his name, they also mentioned kindness. Years later, the biggest events in the city weren't the luxury galas he once loved. They were community fundraisers where families laughed, kids played, and Amina moved through the crowd like sunlight. He always stood beside her. Not ahead. Not hiding her. Beside her. Because he finally understood something simple and powerful. Respect isn't bought. It's earned through how you treat others. And sometimes the person we're most tempted to overlook is the very one who carries the greatest heart. If this story touched you, remember that kindness never goes out of style. Titles fade. Money disappears. But the good we do for others lives on in ways we can't imagine. Share your own kindness stories in the comments, and let's remind each other that the richest life is the one filled with compassion.